If we look on the right-hand side of the control panel, there are 4 additional controls. There's output, flatten, range, and invert. Let's talk about each one of these. The output control is similar to the output control that we've seen on any other plugin so far. It controls the amount of signal that is coming out of that particular plugin. And since these are mastering plugins on the master fader, and the sliders are going to let us add or take away volume from the entire signal flow, it is possible to clip the output of that plugin, and therefore we need to be able to adjust its output so that we don't do that. Right now, our master meter on the EQ is at 2.4 dB above 0, so we have clipped the output of that plugin, and we don't want to do that. Let's go ahead and click on that to reset it, and then press play again. We've added enough frequencies in the low end and the high end that we're now exceeding 0 on the plugin. So let's use the output control to bring the master output of that plugin down 3.1 dB. And then click on that indicator and play through it and see if we ever clip. We don't, so we're fine. Now I'm going to press stop and talk about some of these other controls. The flatten button just allows us to reset the entire equalizer to 0 values. So I'm not going to click on that quite yet, because the next control that I want to talk about is the range control. Right now the range is set to 12 dB, which means that the distance between 0 on the slider and all the way to the top is 12 dB. So if I press that slider all the way to the top, you'll notice that its numeric value goes to 12 dB. If I drag it down all the way, it goes to minus 12 dB. So the range of this equalizer right now is quite wide. We have 12 dB of cut and 12 dB of boost available to us whenever we move those sliders. But if we wanted to narrow how much gain we're able to add across the entire spectrum, we can drop the range control down, and when we do so, you'll notice that the numeric values at the top of the graphic equalizer screen are changing in accordance with the range that we have preset. So if we were to half the range at 6 dB, now when we move the sliders, we're not able to move above or below 6 dB of boost or minus 6 dB of cut. So all that range control is doing is giving us a window of how much tone we're adding by pushing the faders up or down. And then the final button is the invert button, and I actually use the invert button a lot. What the invert button does is anything that we are boosting is going to be cut, and anything that we were cutting is now going to be boosted. Let's move the range control back up to 12 dB, and then try the invert button on and off. When I hit the invert button, what I'm listening to is a reverse of the EQ sliders. So I can actually hear what I have boosted and what I've cut. And now that we've learned about those things, I can now click on the flatten button to just flatten out that entire EQ. But there's one more setting on our control panel, and that's the filter response setting, and let's learn about that next.